Meanwhile, the government, as you know, has rubbished the demands of the opposition for A.K. Antony to step down in the aftermath of that accident. Let's move on now, and we are turning our attention to Karnataka. And Headlines Today has accessed a 26-page report filed by the Karnataka MLAs who went on a study tour to New Zealand, Fiji and Australia. The report sounds more like a kindergarten essay than a report that has been filed by the head of those legislators. The 26-page report has been submitted by B.R. Yavagal, who was the group leader. In it, he writes about sightseeing, about their helicopter landing on a 39,000 feet glacier. Shockingly, he mentions sheep and cow grazing in open lands, something he feels the government must focus on. He says there is no caste system and that people are more disciplined there. Also, he writes that there are more pay-per-use washrooms abroad. This is what Mr. Yavagal says in his defense. All right, so this report has been submitted. It's a 26-page report that has been submitted by the head of the team of 26 legislators who had gone on a supposed study tour to New Zealand, Fiji and to Australia. Now, the report which Headlines Today is bringing to you actually sounds more like an essay written by a kindergarten student rather than a report that is submitted by these honorable legislators.
Study to what? You always, if you go somewhere outside yourself, if you go outside, you will always be on 24 hours study. No. And along with this one, that study of, looking at the farms and meeting the people, the way how they have built the villages or the centers, how they live, what are their facilities, that also is study. Matter how you look at it. No, we have given some discretion to the country, those countries which have visited. Our system, we also live in a commonwealth country, that's also commonwealth. There also the parliamentary system is there. We have mentioned, we have gathered some information and mentioned what's great about this, so funny about it.
All right, Editor South, T.S. Sudhir and Pratibha Raman are now joining us on that story. Let me first get in a reaction from Pratibha. Pratibha, any kind of response coming from the opposition about this kind of report that has been submitted after so much of flack that these legislators got for going abroad on the taxpayers' money?
Well, surprisingly, the leader of opposition as well as from the government's end, which is I did interact with the CM, both of them seem to say that they haven't yet studied the report and they can't really comment. But the shocking factor is that if you actually go through this report, which I have in hand, which is written in Kannada, it seems like a kindergarten student where we went to this, the picnic was like this, we went on a helicopter ride and a train ride. But when we did pose him with the question of how can a train ride or a helicopter ride actually make it a study tour, he seems to say that this is a 24 by 7. You can't be on a study tour, you can't be making observations, but you need to also see new locations. In fact, the sentence goes like this: I did go on a helicopter ride which was which landed on a glacier which was about 3,900 foot tall, and the experience was tremendous. Now, how would that experience account to making this a study tour? Will that be implemented here? And he has absolutely no answer to that. So that is what makes this study tour really ridiculous, because you spend nearly about 8 lakhs just to go there, and these people belong to minorities and backward classes. So how has that got to do with this? He says that we studied about class distinction, we studied the impact of cutting trees and what kind of negative impact it would have. So should you actually go to New Zealand and Fiji to actually understand about what kind of negative impact cutting trees would actually cause? But these MLAs do not really regret the fact that they have actually spent that much of money to go there and absolutely make no valid suggestions that can actually be implemented, not in just their constituency, but even in the state.
So no regret coming on part of the MLA. Sudhir, despite the flack that the Karnataka government got over this junket, does it not betray a sense of how thick-skinned they are when a 26-page report of this kind is submitted?
Well, the fact that it was a farce was pretty much known to everyone, where the lid was blown over this junket, which 8 lakh rupees was spent on each MLA to be sent to Australia, Fiji Islands and New Zealand. The very fact that this kind of a report has been submitted, which, as Pratibha was pointing out, really does not really amount to much. They are from the Backward Classes and Minorities Welfare Committee, and this kind of a report really does not in any way contribute to the working of that committee or the condition of the backward class of Karnataka. The very fact that all politicians cutting across party lines have actually been part of this trip really shows that politicians across party lines in Karnataka don't really care for what public opinion is. There was a lot of public outrage against the kind of money that was spent on this kind of a trip at a time when Karnataka was also reeling under drought. Many taluks were declared drought hit, but yet money was spent to fund this kind of a trip, this kind of a so-called study trip, which was in essence just no more than a tourist attraction trip. So in that sense, political parties not really caring much, and especially coming close to election time, they do realize that they would need these kind of funds. They need to curry favor with politicians cutting across party lines, which is why probably Siddaramaiah has not even found time to study a report which is just 26 pages long.
Sudhir and Pratibha, both of you do stay on with us. We're getting some more news regarding this.